What is up, Brown Girl Tribe? Happy Friday or whatever day that you're watching this video. So today's build is on Sisterhood of Accountability, and this video has been on my mind, heart, and spirit for a while because we live in a alternate reality that is unrecognizable to me. And, you know, we talk about Black girl magic, we talk about sisterhood, but in these circles, I don't see any accountability. I have been disturbed by all the out of order behavior, dress code, not leaving things to the imagination, over sexualization of sisters. And we always talk about we have agency over our bodies, but I don't think that we do, or we even understand what having agency over our bodies look like. Being in the position that I'm in as a professor, I'm in a dual role as a professor and also an administrator at my university. A few weeks ago, I gave a presentation and I was bothered. I was bothered by the lack of clothing that was presented in the classroom. So I'm focusing on my presentation and all I see is just titties, booty cheeks hanging out, tight clothing. And I'm like, you're here to get an education. You're here to focus on becoming the best version of yourself, because as Jay-Z said, you can pay for school, but you can't buy class. And I hold all my students to a high standard because I set the tone as a professor. How I dress, how I speak, articulate myself. I'm my personal brand. Not only do I represent myself, I represent my family, I represent the university that I work for, and just even Black women, okay, because we get lumped into the same category. So I was really bothered, and I was bothered before that, you know, when I go to football games and I'm seeing the lack of clothing, and no one is not checking these young ladies. And I check my students, right? I grew up in a time, so I'm an 80s baby and close to 40 than ever. And I grew up in a time in which I remember class, I remember sophistication, dignity, integrity amongst women. And my mom is in her 70s, and pretty much it's a big age gap between my brother and I. So I always was checked from head to toe before leaving the house. I was taught to, you know, be modest in dress and even with behaviors. And the uncouth behaviors that I see in women, the masculine behavior, is out of order. And we have to go back to keeping the sisterhood accountable. Sis, I don't want to see you naked. I already have a body. There's ways to dress, you know, for your body shape. I remember, you know, I have homegirls in which, you know, when I was, like I said, in college, and, you know, we used to go out. No, sis, that's inappropriate. I'm not going nowhere with you and you dressing inappropriate, you looking crazy, you acting wild out here. Because once again, we not just only represent ourselves, but we have families, we have people. You never know who's watching you, who's, you know, right? Because you have a lot of mentally unhealthy people out here that's ready to do whatever, right? And not saying to blaming a victim or anything of that, but we have to check ourselves of just even how we act, the energy that we bring into the room. And if we talking about we Black girl magic and we dope and we this, that, and the third, we have to make sure that those behaviors, the way that we dress, the way that we act, the way that we think is in alignment of this whole being a magical Black woman, living this soft life, being feminine, not unconditionally feminine, but truly tapping into that behavior. Like I said before, I grew up in a time in which my parents, you know, from the South, I grew up in Boston. I never witnessed what I'm witnessing now between growing up in a household, my mom, my aunts, my great aunts, all I saw was class, dignity, respect, and you will get checked if you was out here in these streets acting uncouth, because back in my parents' time, my grandparents' time, and great-grandparents' time, so we're talking, hundreds of years of being black in America, all you had was your name, right? And you probably had some land, you had whatever the case is, but you wasn't out here in these streets wilding out, because if you were out here in these streets wilding out, your neighbor was able to check you. Your teachers at school, was liable to check you. And I grew up in that type of sisterhood. I grew up in that sisterhood in which, from 4 years old, I did ballet, jazz, and tap, and my ballet instructor was a black woman who checked you, and you had to look according. From playing basketball, I had a black woman who was my basketball coach, and you had to act accordingly, or you was going to get what? Checked, which is accountability, right? I grew up, like I said, in these circles of sophisticated black women, whether they played sports, whether they worked a job or had a career, they was wives, some of them, was single, but there was no disrespectful or over-sexualization in the communities I grew up in. And this is from my teachers. I didn't see any of my teachers looking over-sexualized, and I'm pretty sure they had curves and all that jazz. Even back then in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, wasn't out here showing what they got to folks. So when I'm saying we, talking about sisters in my age category, late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, we have to check one another and keep one another accountable. And also these young women that's coming up. So we are the standard. So we have to hold our standards high. And we have to say, nah, sis, you should not be wearing a bra to class. You should not be you out of dress code on the job, in the streets. And I know we're in different times in which people will go get the burner and will try to kill you because, they have their lack of mental health and their coping mechanisms. But we can gently check people. We can gently go back to class because we're out of order. And I don't want to be lumped in a group with women, well, they're little girls in women's body, let's be honest, and thinking that you could talk to me or approach me, a single woman, any kind of way, and think I'm going to go for that. So we have to go back to holding one another accountable. Like I said, when we see people out of order, misaligned with values. And also too, we can't be competing with these young chicks. I'm not trying to compete with nobody. I'm not trying to compete with someone who could be my daughter. I'm not trying to compete with people in my younger sister's category or my niece in them age range. I'm not in competition. I'm like, I done been there and done that. I done been 18. I done been 30. I'm about to be 40 in like 2.5 more months. I don't got time to be competing with nobody, especially not anybody younger. We need to get out that mindset as well. So for my sisters, I love y'all. We're dope. We're dope mentally, and showing your body and acting uncouth, acting unladylike. You only going to keep attracting that same nonsense. So it's okay to dress modest. It's okay to be chaste. It's okay if you're not out here in these streets. It's okay to be intelligent. It's okay to be beautiful with your clothes on. It's okay to be a fly girl and a round-the-way girl. It's okay that you have a body and you work on your body, your natural body. You don't got to go get these surgeries. It's okay to be feminine. It's okay if you want to get married and be a wife and have kids with that same dude. It's okay to go to college. It's okay if you work at Target, right? It's okay. You don't have to be a 304, all right? So let's keep one another accountable. We're talking about the Sisterhood of Accountability. Like I said, yes, we're magical when it comes to we can look flawless on the outside, but also, too, We have to keep one another accountable. That's the magic. That's the beauty of, conserving Black womanhood, conserving Black femininity. We got to bring that back. We got to bring class back, because this out of order behavior is uncalled for. So that's the bill for today. I love you all. Please share this. Please like it. Add your comments. This is not a shame video. You got to put these disclaimers in there now, because we can do better, and I want us to be better. I want us to be dope. Don't be basic, be better. So much love and light to you guys. Peace.